Hello, I'm Connor McCauley, and this is the Family in 21 assignment. Here I will be talking about the family in 21, family structures, different types of families as mankind has evolved, and ultimately how I think the main functions of the family will be performed in the year 2100. So I'm going to begin with Webster's definition of the family. So the definition of family is a group of people who are related to each other, a person's children, or a group of related people, including people who have lived in the past. So to date back in time, family structures have been changing all throughout the history, dating back to 10,000 BC and all the way up to the 21st century. Families in general, family members' roles, family traditions, and the way family forms have been accomplished have all changed. So I'm going to talk about some main types of families throughout our history. So hunting, gathering families, agricultural families, pre-industrial families, urban industrialized families, and contemporary families. So to begin with hunting and gathering families, these are basically families that occurred before farming was around. So most families could be identified as hunter and gathering families, as men hunted while women gathered, and many man-made tools were used to accomplish the necessary tasks. Most notably, men would use weapons that were handmade in an effort to provide their family with clothing and food, and this is in the effort to fulfill the basic needs in order to survive at this time. Women would gather small fruits, nuts, herbs, and medicine. In addition, they were also responsible for their families' young children. Next is agricultural families. So these families settled in communities and mountain communities which surrounded their homes. Women were to care for the children and take care of cooking and cleaning. The men would farm by growing and harvesting crops and animals for their families to eat. Again, this was in an effort to fulfill the family's basic needs. Sometimes families would live with their extended families, and as their land grew, their families expanded too. This would be a positive thing. Next is pre-industrial families. So pre-industrial families were based off economic needs. Marriages were not based off romance, but instead they were based off economic strategizing and how they thought they would result in the most success. Children were the same. They were used so that they could assist with family responsibilities. And the children started to work around the ages of 8 to 10 for their families. Boys would work as farmers and follow their father, while the girls would assist with their mother and aid in household chores. So next is urban industrialized families. So this is more modern. So this is around the 1800s during the industrial era. So during the early 1800s, everything from society to technology progressed. Because of the advancements, children weren't really able to work until they were old enough, because they had to mature and learn the skills. It wasn't just helping around the farm or the household. So they had to wait till they were old enough. To do this, fewer and fewer families were having children. Within the family, the woman acted as the mother role, of course, which meant that she was not working outside, and she was mainly taking care of the household and family. So into the modern era, we are referred to as contemporary families. Today's day and age family is known as this, and is called the contemporary family because of the progress of society and technological improvements. So everything from birth control being legalized and same-sex marriage being accepted brought Canadian families to this modern stage. A great example of a contemporary family is the TV show Modern Family, which is an accurate depiction of a contemporary family. Things such as the gay couple and adopting a daughter in the TV show portray these modern structures. So all in all, the show portrays a perfect display of a contemporary and modern family. So changes to the family in 2100. So some changes I think will occur, and I'm fairly confident, is same-sex marriages will be more common, and the majority of society will continue to adapt to it, become okay, and become more comfortable with it. Therefore, by the year 2100, I believe same-sex marriages will become legal almost everywhere around the world. So in 1961, 8.4% of families were single-parent families. That number was doubled by the year 2006 to 16.3% of families being single-parent. So this ties into divorce rates, because with divorce rates being high, this ultimately leads to single-parent families increasing and becoming higher. So the trend here is that families are rapidly increasing to these single-parent families. So by following trends since 1950, I ultimately believe that by 2100, single-parent families will continue to increase, common law will continue to increase and be modified, and step families will keep increasing, and so on. So I think this because since all these things have been growing at such a rapid pace, I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, especially since modern societies have been changing and developing. So there are 6 main functions to the family, and I'm going to pose the question, who will perform the functions of the family by the year 2100? So the first function is production, consumption, distribution of goods and services. So by the year 2100, I think that the mother will take on this role and perform this function in the family, mainly because single-parent mothers and women in general are increasingly taking on the task force and being more of a prominent role in society and businesses. And women are actually in the majority now on income scales and ultimately just providing for the family. So therefore, I believe women will continue to develop as a major role model for families and the main performer of the function, production, consumption, distribution of goods and services. So the second function is socialization of children by teaching skills, knowledge, values, and attitudes in society. So I believe that by 2100, a lot of focus will be on teachers, and teachers will have a massive impact on teaching children these skills and performing this function, because parents are going to have to rely more on teachers to teach their kids skills, knowledge, values, and these attitudes. This will be done in class by talking about, for example, sex ed, talking about family problems that could occur and how to overcome adversity in situations, and ultimately knowledge. Teachers are there to teach knowledge. So the third function is physical care of the sick and aged. So this function could be seen in 2 different ways. The first is that parents will take on a stronger role in performing this function. So parents will continue and improve the skill of motivating their kids to find jobs, and do well in school, and ultimately be comfortable talking to people. So what I just explained was actually maintaining morale and motivating individuals to participate in society, not physical care of the aged and sick. So I'll go back to the physical care of the aged and sick in one sec. So while I finish this role of the function of maintaining morale and motivating individuals, like I said, I believe parents will be the ones to continue to involve their kids in society and encourage them to be involved in society. So by the time that they are an adult and off by themselves, they are solid contributors and are comfortable talking to people. So I also really believe that women will have a lot of control over families again by making a big impact in 2100 in this function. So back to physical care of the sick and aged. I believe this function, like I said before, could be seen in 2 different ways. The first is that when elders get sick, their family members and those who care about them are the ones who provide the aid and are the ones who are there for them when they need it. And the second way it could be seen is that elders could just be thrown in retirement homes or placed in retirement homes, and not have to be dealt with by their families. And this can be a good thing because it's been seen that by families having to take care of the taking physical care of the aged and sick, it can lead to many problems economically, socially, and psychologically. So the next function is controlling behavior to maintain order within the family and society. So I believe that by 2100, the father will continue to be the main role model performing this function in the family. The father will be the one to enforce structure and discipline in an effort to raise the children of a family properly in order to be respectful and responsible people in society. So the next is the addition of new members through reproduction. This is the last function of the family. So I believe that by 2100, women will continue to reproduce just like they have done throughout our history. But I believe that alternative processes, such as alternative processes of reproduction, such as in vitro fertilization, will become more common. It is used today, but it's not as common as the normal form of reproduction. As well, I think sperm donors will increase, and this will lead to parents not having to get married or have a relationship to start a family. So this will become an adult's personal decision whether or not to raise a family with a couple or by themselves. So it's very important to note that many people in the world consider themselves to be families, but don't actually fulfill these functions and needs. So, for example, a childless couple may consider themselves a family, but they haven't reproduced. So, technically, they're not fulfilling a function of a family. Another example would be a couple's child who grows up in society and doesn't actively socialize or participate. This shows that the function of the family to basically socialize children by teaching them skills, knowledge, values, and attitudes has not been fulfilled and accomplished. So by 2100, I think there will be new gender roles that will impact the family structure and relationships that will impact the family structure in ways such as economically, socially, and biologically. So an economic shift can be seen through the increase of income produced by mothers. So working moms are now in the majority with 58.3% in the workforce. And this number is clear that it'll increase in the years to come with women's rights increasing, leading them to become the main source of income. So a social shift that can be seen is through blended families or step families. So these families are a lot more common as a result of divorce and single-parent families. So in 2011, 12.6% of families were blended, which proves that with the amount of divorces, by 2100, blended families will increase. The biological shift can be seen through the shrinkage of families. So over the years, families have been shrinking, mainly because the cost of families is so much, and people are struggling to find work, and the competitive nature of the labor force and labor market is a very competitive one. So in 2011, only 8% of families had over 5 children, which is a very small number compared to families in the past. Therefore, by 2100, families will have shrunk and will continue to do so from then on. So, in conclusion, the family in 2100 will keep increasing the way it is now. Things will stay relatively the same, but things like divorce rate will continue to increase. Single-parent families will continue to increase. Same-sex marriages will go up. And ultimately, the main difference in 2100 will be mothers and women. Mothers and women in general will have a much larger role in families, and this can be seen today already.